Hi everyone, my name is EMarciante and this is for Addictions Family Counseling online, and I am currently getting my bachelor's in Human Services with a generalized concentration. The movie that I chose was Ben is Back, and this movie shows the impacts of addiction on a family, specifically between Ben and his mom. The family members are Ben, who is the addict who is addicted to opioids. He got addicted because of a snowmobile injury and was prescribed medicine, painkillers, and got hooked after being prescribed that at 14 years old. His mom is Holly. Holly is the enabler and protector. She does everything she can to save her son when sometimes the things she does are questionable. He has a stepdad, Neil, who is skeptic and wary about his return back home from rehab and how it's going to affect the family. He's what we would call the dependent. He has a lot of anger and doesn't really trust him and blames him for a lot of stuff. And then we have Ivy, who's the sister. She's the observer. She kind of is torn between loving her brother and, wanting him to get better, but she's also afraid of him and doesn't know if it's going to stick. He has two other younger siblings, but they are too young, so they will not be participating in the counseling because it's just not appropriate for them to be involved. The model that I feel would benefit Ben's addiction with his family would be the biopsychosocial spiritual model, and this is just because Ben has a lot of triggers and they all pretty much fit into all those groups. So his addiction, from the biological standpoint, when he injured himself and got hooked on these pills, his brain just needed more and more, and it changed the composition of his brain functions. And his impulse control changed. He just was looking for his next fix anywhere he could get it, didn't matter what it was. Psychological factors, he felt a lot of guilt, shame, and he was in distress the time that he came back from rehab. He was a dealer, and he got one of his best girls that were his friends hooked, and she ended up dying from overdosing, so he carries a lot of guilt and shame with that because it is a small town, so everybody knows everything that goes on there. And social factors that play into this, his parents, well, he has a stepdad. His real dad isn't in the picture and was not a very good man, and his mom and stepdad are never on the same page as what to do with him and how to treat him. And he has a lot of outside peer influences, like his people that got him hooked on dealing and doing drugs. He sees them everywhere he goes because, like I said, it's a small town. Spiritual factors, Ben is always searching for meaning and redemption. His family is very religious, so you see him going to church and trying to find purpose and understanding and trying to be better, but it's just hard because all of the outside factors just keep playing in motion. Some assessments that I think would be great for this family is the family functioning assessment, one, because it'll better understand how this addiction has altered the family and the family roles and how it's taken a toll for worse on mom, dad, sister, and what they've had to pick up because of this addiction. I also feel like family interviews, that's major, because it will allow us to see what the extended family members see and feel and go through with Ben the addict, because Ben's not going to be 100% maybe honest with everything that's going on, or he just doesn't see what his family is going through. And drug detection testing is another thing, because his sobriety is questionable according to his mom and his dad, and this will help evaluate how severe or if he's still using, so that we can get him all the help that he can get. Some interventions that I feel like will work with Ben and his family: motivational interviewing for Ben. Ben needs to explore his own motivations and avoid confrontations, because confrontations are a trigger for him. And it'll allow him to identify and explore his problems and determine how he wants to fix them. And instead of resisting the help or how people want him to do things, we can figure out how he would like to and what would motivate him to get better and stop using. Also, solution-focused family therapy. This will help emphasize, strengthen, find solutions and future possibilities for the family. This will help the family not focus on all of Ben's past relapses, but it would also encourage his family to identify moments of success for him. We could come up with, the miracle question that we've all learned about to help the family envision a positive future and identify small obtainable goals to get to the end of the tunnel, or to get to sobriety, or help him on the path to sobriety. Scaling questions are going to help gauge the family's feelings of progress and to recognize his small improvements, so we're not always, harping on the bad that he does. We can identify strengths like within the family, so we're not just talking about Ben. We can identify, how Holly, the mom, is supportive, how Ivy, the sister, is she has cautious optimism instead of making it seem like she's just against Ben. And we can talk about how Neil the stepdad, has great protective instincts instead of looking at it as a bad thing. This will encourage them to work together more effectively. We can do realistic goal setting instead of setting goals that we know just might not even be achievable for Ben at this point. And then the family can collaborate on everything. It'll allow the family to get together and talk everything through so they are all on the same page. Some barriers that, we may see with this family is denial and distrust. He's been to rehab a few times already, and he came home too early, so the chances of, he hasn't really, in the family's eyes, proven himself trustworthy. There's stigma and shame. Like I said, it's a small town, so the family members may be embarrassed or judged. They may be, feared of being labeled that family, that dysfunctional family with the addict. There's a lot of enabling going on in codependency. So mom, we might have some trouble with mom because she unintentionally keeps enabling him by not fully confronting his addiction. And she has a hard time setting healthy boundaries. She just wants him back. Boundaries go out the door. Financial issues. Ben's stepdad has already shelled out a lot of money for rehab twice. So, financial issues may come into play because the money they keep giving it to Ben to get better. and conflicting perspectives. We already know mom and stepdad just don't see eye to eye, as well as Ivy, the sister. So that could come into play. But me being the professional, it's going to be my job to practice patience and educate the family the best I can so that we can work to find what works with this specific family. You know, it's not one size fits all. Some resources that I found locally, because there wasn't really any resources in the movie. There's the Foundation's Wellness Center, which is in Port St. Lucie. They do all forms of addiction treatments and individual and group therapy, which could benefit both Ben individually, and then he can have his family with them. There's also Amethyst Recovery Center. They offer family support programs and holistic treatment. This is in Port St. Lucie as well. Narcotics, Nar-Anon groups, which is for families of addicts of opioids, narcotics, and the Abrosia Treatment Center, which is also in Port St. Lucie, which is the same thing as Foundation's Wellness Center and Amethyst Recovery Center. That concludes the presentation. Thanks for listening, guys.